what would be your advice for first-time buyers?
Right. So over the last 6 months, I know you had mentioned that we've seen presidential elections, we've seen a new president come in. At the time was that with the new president, there was going to be lower rates, right?
Mm-hmm.
On our side, when we see low interest rate, that also leads to increased demand. So for realtors and brokers, the expectation is that the interest rate and the prayer is that the rates should go down. However, with inflation still being high, rates are still high, and the government is trying its best to be able to curb inflation. For my new home buyers at this point in time, and the whole idea was you buy when you are ready. So regardless of what's going on in the market, the interest rate is 2% today and you're not ready to buy, you're not ready to buy. If it's 8, 9, 10% and you are ready, go ahead and buy.
Are you looking to buy a property in Texas for the first time? Are you looking to find the best county, the best deals? Look no further than Agent Dan. Full disclosure, I have benefited from this man's very fine attention to detail. I've benefited from his goodwill in going beyond the call of duty. If you're joining for the first time, welcome to the Story Warrior podcast. My name is Gideon Fumukwai, and you're about to hear from a man I call the guru of Dallas. As far as real estate is concerned, I look no further than Agent Dan. When you say Agent Dan, are you coming in today like a 007 agent, or you tell us how you coming in today? Where are you coming in from?
I'm coming in as a special agent. Thank you very much, Gideon. I really appreciate you having me here today. There is plenty I can say, obviously with your guidance and with the questions you're going to throw at me. I really absolutely look forward to getting to share my experience and my background, and also hopefully be of value to someone out there. One of the things that we tend to suffer from is lack of knowledge.
Yes, sir.
And if you do not know, sometimes it's at no fault to you, but it's important to know. And once you know, you realize that it's like a veil has been taken off your eyes, and you can see clearly, and you are able to make better decisions. So I really appreciate this opportunity you've given me today to be able to be of a blessing to somebody. And I'm hopeful that by the time we get to the end of this, there would definitely be somebody who feels like, yeah, this was worth their time.
Thank you so much. And I had to make you wake up so early this morning, the morning after Valentine's Day. I feel like the evil brother from far, far away. And I have to say, please forgive me for our viewers who are joining in. If you're looking for a home in Texas, yes, Texas is huge, is big, is vast, but people make some mistakes, a lot of mistakes. You, as the special agent Dan, who has worked with James Bond, you've worked with all kinds of you work with all kinds of VIPs and non-VIPs. What are some of the mistakes that middle class families, especially first-time buyers, they make as far as purchasing their first property in Texas?
Sure. One of the things that I would say for the most part is people not being able to, or maybe trying to buy outside of what they are able to afford. There used to be, historically, you would see people buy, the first home, right? The starter home. And then from there, they'll be able to upgrade to, maybe the forever home, if there is such a thing as a forever home. But one of the things that I see is people wanting to buy, and right away they want to buy probably the most expensive house that they see, just because they have a friend or a family member that bought a similar type property, and maybe that person bought when the interest rates were 2%, and you were trying to buy the same house now when the interest rate is 7%. right? Or they bought it when it was 300,000 and you're buying it now at 550.
Mm.
And
That's like taking a knife and stabbing your own self, right?
absolutely, absolutely. And
Okay.
my one of the things that I really do caution is, I talk about the total cost of ownership.
Mm-hmm.
Look beyond how being able to make that mortgage payment. There are
Mm-hmm.
other things that are associated with owning a home,
Yes.
and if you are not able to factor all of those things in,
Mm-hmm.
then you would fall in the trap of, what, I can make the mortgage payment, but God forbid the AC or the HVAC system goes down, then you're not able to you're not able to repair it and still be able to make a mortgage payment. So that's really one of the biggest things that I caution against.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also, it's been a function of our market as well, because of the large influx of people from other states.
Yes.
Prices have continued to rise. So the inflation in the housing market is very, very real and is very tangible. uh,
Mm-hmm.
so, one of the things that I've been hitting hard on is just buy the house that you can afford right now. Few years down the line, you can, turn around and sell it, then pull out the equity and be able to get you that forever.
Mm. Yeah, as you're talking, I was smiling a little painfully, smiling in pain because you may not realize this, but we bought a home from you in through your assistance professional hub in Texas, and within less than 7 8 months, when we're in June 13th, there was a hailstones,
Mhm,
serious one,
mhm.
and our neighborhood was
Oh,
hit
wow.
very hard. Where
Hmm.
we were coming from in Oregon, we had no idea what's hailstones. What's that?
Yes,
It's
yes.
something you read about in a book, or maybe you've seen in a movie. But this particular one was like sent from hell.
Oh boy.
Hailstones sent from hell. They were almost as big as half
Of
a golf
course.
ball. They
Yes.
smashed on the roof. They smashed on the gutters. They smashed everywhere. They knocked this thing down. And all of a sudden, we came in, we're like feeling pretty cool, we're cozy. And then we saw all neighbors changing their roofs. They're
Hmm.
tearing down the roof. I'm like, what's going on? These people crazy. And one guy offered to do a free assessment for me. I'm like, I don't need a free assessment. He said, no, your neighbor is hit pretty hard. You most likely have been hit.
Hmm.
And guess what? We did not factor that into our cost.
Hmm.
And the assessment, the preliminary assessment, just because our insurance, when we're purchasing our insurance, we did not think about these type of hailstones from
Hmm.
hell.
Hmm.
So assessment said to change the entire roof with 22K. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
22K.
Yes.
That is as good as it gets.
Yes.
And here's the cruel part. The guy who did the first refer said, oh, 4,500, I can fix the whole thing. We paid him 4,500. After he fixed that, and he said, now you gotta be changing this in a few months, otherwise you cannot live
Oh
in this
boy.
home.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
I'm having a little baby. I'm like, the last thing a father should do is have a little raindrop on the baby.
Yes.
When so you are absolutely right.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just because you can afford the mortgage doesn't mean you can afford the house.
That is.
We managed to escape that, but I know if our situation were just a little bit different, it would have been a
Mhm.
nightmare from
Absolutely.
some other dark place. But talk to us about the hidden costs, because there's so many hidden costs that people don't factor in when they're trying to purchase a new home.
So yeah, you're right. Right from the start, there are costs, which I mean would say hidden costs, but these are costs that are actually out there, because most of these things they are disclosed, right?
Mhm,
You know, for the most part, if you read that this is how much it's going to cost you to be able to close on that property.
mhm,
From the time you are looking to buy and you start engaging with the loan officer, you would have an initial disclosure. If there is a subject property, you would have an initial disclosure. You would have an estimate on the interest rate, estimate on what your principal and interest would be. And in some cases, you'd also have an estimate on taxes and insurance. So you kind of have an idea, from the start, preliminarily what you would be looking at every month on your payments. But as you progress down the line, You would also continue to get another disclosure, which would then show you the additional costs that you'd have to face before you take possession of that property. So besides your down payment on that loan, which could be 3.5% if it's an FHA loan, or 5% if it's a conventional loan, or more if you choose to, besides the down payment, you have additional costs anywhere from title transfer fees, that's title insurance as well,
Mhm.
to lawyer costs, to origination charges from the lender. All of those things sum up now to become your cash to close, right?
Mhm.
So when you're looking at it, you're not just looking at it in isolation. You're not just thinking, oh, down payment 3.5%, I'm good. No,
Mhm.
3.5% plus maybe another 2 or 2.5% for the additional costs that you need to be able
Mhm.
to secure that loan and close on the property. Now, once that's done, then keeping the property now is the other portion, because you have to be sure to pay your insurance on that property. You
Mhm.
have to be sure that you have you're maintaining the yard. You are
Mhm.
spending on pest control services, which is
Mhm.
another thing that of course, we are out here in Texas. We have different things from spiders to, depending on where you are, you might even have some things that crawl, right?
Mhm.
Which will remain nameless, but you need pest control services to be able to make sure that your investment is secure. And there are other services that you can shop for, warranty type services, which
Mhm.
would help defray the cost of a major appliance breaking down. So anywhere
Mhm.
from your range to your refrigerator to the
Mhm.
HVAC system, which we talked about earlier. There are
Mhm.
those things that there is warranty. There are companies that sell those warranties that would help you
Mhm.
cover some
Mhm.
of those costs should you be in an unfortunate situation.
Mhm.
But for acts of God like the hailstones which you experience, those would be those normally would be covered by insurance, and same with auto insurance. If you choose the high deductible option, which means that your premiums are lower, uh,
Mhm.
then obviously there would need to be more coming out of pocket.
That's the category in which I fell in because I did not have any knowledge of
Yes,
hailstones. I'm reading through this. I'm like, okay, hailstone doesn't happen. Maybe once in a century. Maybe I'm not alive anymore. So my deductible was from the 12K or so. So it was as good as not
yes.
getting any insurance. But again,
Exactly. So
yeah.
most of it's almost like 50-50, maybe even 60-40. You bear the brunt of the
Mhm.
cost of repairing that roof, right?
Mhm.
It's one of those things that you tell yourself, well, maybe I pray to God it never happens. So I'm going to go with a high deductible plan, and with insurance costs going up yearly, I would say sometimes you just say, man, I if I have to pay this high insurance, I might not be able to eat, so I will go with a high deductible. I pray to God that my house is protected. So
And God is a pretty busy man, I'm telling you. He's a
He's
pretty
very busy
busy,
because He's
busy.
protecting my house, He's
He's, pro-
protecting yours too.
he's protecting. He's got like 8 billion jobs around the world to protect. So
Yes,
he's asking his guys, "Can you go over to Sudan? Can you go over to Iraq? Can you go over to all these places?" So at some point, you know, he's omnipresent, but
hmm,
doesn't mean he'll be present over your roof at the time your hailstones are coming down.
yeah. I
So
I have
welcome
to
to.
say that I have been fortunate. In my neighborhood, I would say not just we've not been we've not been hit by any hailstones, so we've not had serious thunderstorms. It's a strange phenomenon, Gideon. It
It's
hits one house
probably
and
it's probably I mean they say the informed people know
Mhm.
where to buy their homes. So the agents obviously know where there are no hailstones, they know where it is a lot safer, no tornadoes. I've seen a couple of tornadoes pass overhead. I don't know if you
Ex-
guys even have tornadoes where you live. So
Except when
is
I
this a
bought the time I bought, I wasn't a realtor at the time I bought. So
oh I see. I
yeah, I
see.
bought
I see.
a few years before I became a real estate agent. So I don't know. It just was an act
Okay.
of chance,
Okay.
maybe.
Okay, well, I can swallow that for now. But if I see the second time, then when I buy
Then
the
there
next
is maybe
one,
a
then
pattern.
I will be like, no, this is,
Yeah.
it has to be very secretive knowledge.
Hmm.
Now, but before you became a realtor, you were in corporate accounting,
Hmm.
and you were a high flying corporate accountant. That's something that's prestigious. It's something that people work very hard. People kill. They'll do anything just get into a feel like that because you're looking over everyone's money. You know who is getting what. You know how to 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 divide and give small pieces to other people. Why would you move from corporate accounting to real estate now? There's a high utility in real estate, but what got you to move?
Yeah, so I laugh because my background is an interesting one. I actually have a my bachelor's was in accounting,
There
and
you go.
it meandered, and somehow I ended up in IT audits, right?
Okay. Okay.
So even with the background in accounting, I worked primarily in supply chain. So I did
Mm-hmm.
procurement for my first few years out of college,
Mm-hmm.
managing contracts for an oil and gas company,
Mm-hmm.
and then did analytics, and ended up into IT audits, and actually was certified in information systems auditor.
Mm-hmm.
Worked as a consultant with Ernst and Young, EY, and then
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
ended up with
That's a
the
big name firm.
it is.
Mm-hmm.
Have some nightmares from my time there, but
Did
but
they contribute? Did they contribute to you? Kind of say, you know what? Yeah, you
I
guys have a big name, but you know what? I'm gonna go make my own name.
by the time I left EY, I knew my days in the corporate world were numbered.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I would say, nothing was, no, none of the knowledge that I had gotten over time was wasted, right?
Okay.
Because
Okay.
looking back from the time that I was doing procurement, I
Mm-hmm.
had an opportunity to interact a lot with vendors, and almost on a daily basis, I would have vendors showing up to my office trying to convince me to use
Mm-hmm.
them versus the
Yeah.
next
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it helped me build some marketing skills, help
Mm-hmm.
me value customer service,
Yes,
because
sir.
it's not just buying the product, it's also being able to
Building.
get a hold of that vendor after that
Yeah.
product has been
Yeah.
purchased,
Purchased. Yeah.
right? And then transitioning to consulting, that was like drinking from a fire hydrant.
Files. Okay.
Fast-paced environment, also customer service, and then being able to burn the midnight oil. And if
Mm.
something needs to get done, you have to get it done regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
all of that experience, and the fact that it was also stressful,
Mm-hmm.
got me thinking. Right, I could also divert this effort into
Mm-hmm.
building something not just for me, but something that would also be a lasting legacy
For your
uh,
family.
to my family and my community as well.
Mm.
If you've been around Gideon long enough to know that, especially in the Cameroonian population, it feels like we are playing catch up, when it comes to owning businesses, when it comes to
Yes.
being entrepreneurs in general, and
Yeah.
branching out and not doing the traditional things that have been done in the past.
Yeah.
So it just so happened that at the time that I got into this, my community was ripe for that transition.
Mm.
People had gotten tired of continuing to pay rent, and it
Yeah.
was like they had finally seen the light, and it made sense for them to be able to now own properties in the US.
Mm-hmm.
That mindset of someday I'm going to go back to my village and
Mm-hmm.
live in that mansion, that big mansion that I've built, was
Mm-hmm.
gradually fading away, and
Mm-hmm.
realizing I'm here now. Let me
Mm-hmm.
make the best of the opportunity that I have right
Exactly.
disposal. So the time was ripe, and
Mm.
to be in that space at that time. And I also, like to think that I contributed some to, changing minds and making people realize that this is your home, and you have to do, what's best for you at this particular point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
yeah, when I started, I wasn't doing this on a full-time basis. I started off, while still maintaining my job as an IT auditor.
Okay.
I did it for about a 6 months period, and I just had to, pull the plug on the corporate job and say, if I focus my efforts on this, I believe
Mm,
it's going to be of a great value to my community, and
mhm.
it's also going to be I'll have a sense of fulfillment, because at the end of the day, when I come home and I'm ready
Mhm.
to go to sleep, I could look back and say, I did help put a smile on somebody's face today, and
Yeah.
that's way more important than the compensation.
Very intangible. You could see someone who is owning a home for the first time, they smile on their face, and that's like very meaningful.
Hmm.
In corporate audits, you're not gonna see any smile in the bits, the zeros, and the ones
Yeah.
in the coding language. The most you could see is probably, I don't know, for data and analytics. I don't know, the most you could see is what, I don't know, a series of ones and twos and threes, digital numbers that don't make no sense. Yeah, maybe they make sense, but at the other end. So you got started in real estate at the very right time, because there's a large community of immigrants, not just from Africa but from around the world. Taking some time to look at the various immigrant communities in Dallas, and it's huge. It's
Hmm.
huge. So
Hmm.
talk to us about serving that niche. It appears that's your niche, serving predominantly um, immigrants of African and Caribbean descent and other parts of the world, people who are middle class around Dallas, Texas. What kind of niche is that? Is that a wealthy niche? Is that a struggling niche? What kind of niche is that?
Yeah, the way I look at it, right, it's
Mhm,
you have an opportunity to maybe sell $1 million house,
mhm,
and that's it, or you have an opportunity to sell 50 houses, that are
mhm.
priced on the average, which
Okay.
for our market here is in the high 300s, about 375,
Mhm,
right? That's the range where most people can afford to
mhm,
buy properties.
mhm,
And again, it's a matter of, mindsets have been changing gradually,
mhm,
and most I would say the people that stand the most to benefit would be my immediate community first, before it starts spreading out to,
mhm,
it starts spreading out to other communities, right?
mhm,
I'm
mhm.
making disciples first in, I don't know, Judea,
your, your back, your neck of the
disciples
wood. Yeah.
in my neck of the wood, right? The
Yeah.
people that
Yeah.
I see on a day-to-day basis,
I see.
because I don't think it would make sense for me. That's the way I see it. Others might disagree, but it wouldn't make sense for me that,
Mhm,
my immediate surrounding, the people that I fellowship with, the people that I,
mhm,
do the Jangis with, the people that I do
mhm.
life with almost on a daily basis, are not benefiting of what
From
I
your
am
skill.
offering.
Yeah.
So over time, it's progressed and it's spread out from my local community.
Mhm,
Well, let's say Cameroonians, Africans,
mhm,
Nigerians, right? And the
mhm,
goal now is to be able to create a reach
mhm,
that would, not only benefit immigrants but
mhm.
also be of benefit to Americans. And
Okay.
yeah, and plans are in place.
Mhm,
With recently getting a broker's license, and then trying
mhm,
to see how I could be able to also set up shop, and
mhm.
yeah, and be also in a position to sponsor other agents
I
that
see.
would be able to get into some of those communities that I
Mhm.
might not be able to get into.
Fantastic. And how would you describe the trends lately, say the last 6 months? During the pandemic, there was a huge influx of people from the northern states,
Mhm.
the Virginias, the Washingtons, the Californias, California, not necessarily northern, Oregons,
Mhm.
to Texas. It was like almost like an exodus. Are we still seeing that exodus, or the exodus is slowing down because the Red Sea is no longer
It's no longer
passable? Yeah.
possible. The pandemic was very strange times, and work from home did change a lot of things,
Yeah.
because back during the pandemic times, that the flexibility to work from home drove a lot of people from where they were.
Mhm.
You talk about the northern states,
Mhm.
New York, New
Mhm.
Jersey, all of those areas, and then the
Mhm.
western states, California.
Mhm.
And one thing, not to get political here, but one thing about some of those states was the stringent laws that they had in place during
Mhm.
the pandemic.
Mhm.
Texas seemed to, the claim was the governor said Texas was open for business.
Mhm.
Those were the words of our governor.
Mhm.
And that played a role in attracting people to Texas.
Mhm.
Besides that, most of the people that came in at that time to, if you're looking at the cost of living in those states, it's higher. Not
Mhm.
a little, it's significantly higher in some cases than it is in Texas.
Mhm.
Take for instance, somebody would sell their regular size, two single story, 3 beds, 2 baths house in California
Mhm.
for 900,000, right? They bring
Mhm.
that money over here to Texas, and they are able to buy uh, a big house, like really,
Mhm.
really big, 5 beds, 4 baths,
Mhm.
studios, the study, big backyard.
Mhm.
So that guy comes in, it's like, hey man, call the friends over in California, like, look at what I was able to buy, right? Even half of the money that I sold my house in California.
Mhm.
That ripple effect. So a lot more people came by themselves. And what we're experiencing now would mostly be from corporations relocating their headquarters to
Mhm.
Texas,
Mhm.
North Texas especially, and then
Mhm.
with that, the jobs that follow. Uh,
Mhm.
so there has been some softening.
Mhm.
It's not as crazy as it was before. Uh,
Mhm.
but what I would say is for the consumers, the downside of that has been that the prices went up and they are not coming down, right? So
Mhm.
prices have been rising
Mhm.
even though it's plateaued now, but it
Mhm.
doesn't seem to be going down anymore. So for those who are waiting on the sidelines, saying that the market is going to crash, we are all waiting. We don't know when it's going to, if it's going to happen, but
Mhm.
we are waiting to see which direction the market goes.
Hmm. Okay. That's, I don't know if that's welcome news. It's not welcome news. Looks like we made the move at the wrong time. But talk to us about the surge, the rise and the fall of the interest rates. Where are things today? And for first-time buyers,
Hmm.
what should they be thinking about? What should they be? Should they hold on the side for a minute, or should they jump in? Looks like things, nobody can quite put a finger on where things are going. The
Sure.
Feds have a role to play. The local economy of Texas. For first-time buyers, what would be your advice for first-time buyers?
Right. So, we over the last 6 months, I know you had mentioned that over the last 6 months, we've seen presidential elections. We've seen a new president come in, and it seemed like a general consensus at the time was that with the new president, there was going to be lower rates. Right.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
It's only been maybe a month.
mm-hmm,
Nothing seems to be changing so far. The
mm-hmm,
interest mortgage rates are still high, hovering in the 6 to low 7%.
mm-hmm,
We, on our side, when we see low interest rate, that also leads to increased demand.
mm-hmm,
So for realtors and brokers, it's the expectation is that the interest rate and the prayer is that the rates should go down.
mm-hmm,
However, being as it is, right, with inflation still being high, rates
mm-hmm,
are still high, and the government is trying its best to be able to, curb inflation.
mm-hmm.
For my
Okay.
new home buyers at this point in time, I'd actually made a video some time ago, which I shared on social media, and the whole idea was you buy when you are ready. So
Mm-hmm,
regardless of what's going on in the market,
mm-hmm.
the interest rate is 2% today and you're not ready to buy, you're not ready to buy.
Exactly.
If it's 8, 9, 10% and you are ready, financially ready, go ahead
Mm-hmm.
and buy.
Mm.
The reality is, regardless, you need a place to stay, right?
Yep. Yep.
Right now, for the most part, you're paying rent to someone, and
Mm-hmm.
most people would regret, having stayed too long renting versus having owned because that's lost time and lost equity.
Yes.
For my first time home buyers, right now, what I usually say is let's consider a new home builder because the builders, through their lenders, are able to offer some incentives that
Mm-hmm.
would help, defray some of the costs at the start of owning a property. And those incentives take the form of at times lower interest rates,
Mm-hmm.
closing cost, and
Mm-hmm.
they might also offer what they call like a 2-1 buy down, which is it escalates. It's kind of like an adjustable rate mortgage, but it's
Mm-hmm.
adjustable for a set time period. So in the first year the interest rate could be, for example, 3.99%. In the second year it goes up a point to 4.99, and then in the third year it goes to 5.99, for example, and then it will stay there for the rest of the life of the loan. And what that does is it helps you upfront lower your payment with the
Mm-hmm.
expectation that the market is going to adjust. And when the market adjusts, then you can refinance and lock in a lower interest rate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're hedging your bet, and it's been helpful to some people
Mm-hmm.
who've wanted to take advantage of the new builder incentives.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the pre-existing side, if you're looking at buying now because of the way the market is, it gives you an opportunity to be able to negotiate prices. So, say a house has been sitting on the market for 90 plus days, as just as an example,
Mm-hmm.
that seller, wants to sell, right? They're not going to keep the house and continue to make a mortgage payment, or sometimes make two mortgage payments because they've already moved.
Mm-hmm.
At that point they are very interested in selling, and you as a buyer, you can come in now and offer a less than asking price, with the hope that the seller is willing to negotiate at that point, and you'd be able
Mm-hmm.
to also snatch a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
Either
Mm-hmm.
way, I say, as long as you're ready, let's go ahead and do it. You always have an opportunity in the future to refinance. And even if you're not able to refinance, as long as you're able to handle that mortgage and any other associated costs, you should be fine.
Mm. Okay, buy when you're ready, not just when the market is ready, because the market is not your friend. It's not doesn't take any cues from you. The market determines when it goes up, it determines when it goes down, depends when.
By far
Okay,
bigger than any one of us. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So if you could say that three tips you could give to first time buyers, like really quick tips. What are three tips you could give to first time buyers? Things that they can look out for, things that can help them maybe save some money, maybe just be savvy buyers. What would be three tips you can give to first time buyers?
Sure. We'll start with the most recent one, right? Buy when you're ready. So
Buy when
not
you're ready. Okay.
necessarily watching the market. And then consider the total cost of ownership. So not just looking at the mortgage payment,
Yeah.
look at everything as a whole. And
Yes.
then last but certainly not the least, also consider getting a starter home versus that final dream home.
Oh, don't get it forever home. Get a starter home. Okay.
Mhm.
That's something that can be very, very helpful to someone because I've been in that situation where I found a place was beautiful. The wife said, "Let's get that. Let's get that." I'm like, I that's I'm sure. I'm not sure our income. We're not ready for that yet. Even if we can, let's delay it. There's a
Mhm.
time for that when we are really comfortable. Then you can go for that. Maybe when the kids are out of school or all that kind of thing. So that's very good information there. Now, as far as the market goes, are the homes staying longer on the market now, or are they staying shorter? Give us a paint a little picture of northern Texas. I know you work statewide, right?
I do. I'm licensed to
Okay.
practice statewide. However,
Okay.
the markets are localized. What's happening in North Texas is not the same as what's happening down in the Gulf area. So,
I see. I see. So talk to us about the relative state of the market in terms of how long homes are staying on the market. Who are the people getting a better deal? Is it the sellers? Is it the buyers? And I know you have vested interest in this. So talk to us from a very political standpoint,
sure.
if that's possible.
Right now, without looking at the stats as of today, I would say houses are averaging anywhere from 60 to 90 days on the market, averaging, right?
Mm,
We see anywhere from 100 plus days on the market. which is not the same as we had back in 2020 or 2021 or even
Mm-hmm.
2022,
Mm-hmm.
where we were having multiple offer situations. In
Mm-hmm. And
this,
there was a bidding war.
there was a bidding war.
I was a
Yes,
victim of that.
yes, yes. Those days right now, I would say they are behind us. Thankfully for the buyers, right? It's not something that you have to contend with multiple sellers and probably end up paying over asking price or choosing to
Mm-hmm.
waive appraisal just so your offer can be accepted. So to answer your question, we have houses last staying on the market longer, averaging anywhere from 60 to 90 days on the market.
Hmm. 60 to 90 days. That's quite a bit. But when it comes to the market, is it more of a buyer's market, a seller's market? I don't know if did I ask that part of the question?
Yes, 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 yes. I just know the answer. Yes, it's now things seem to be favoring the buyers more because again, once the product it's on the shelf longer,
Mm-hmm.
it would be like you're shopping for anything retail,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Once the product is nearing its expiration date or
Yeah.
the cloth is
Mm-hmm.
almost getting out of season for that particular type of cloth,
You want to
they're
get
going to
rid of
drop
it?
the price
Yeah.
in order to push it out. So the discount starts showing up, right? So
Okay.
we see the same thing when it comes to houses. Prices are being lowered.
Mm-hmm.
Some sellers are using the option of perhaps we can maybe rent it, while the
Mm-hmm.
listing for sale and they are listing for rent at the same
Mm-hmm.
time. That way, whichever one shows up first, they can still be making their mortgage payment and not lose a significant amount of money.
Talk about that listing for sale, and that's
And
something that's a bit new. I was looking at a place, a property here on the Cove,
mhm.
and they said it's a lease, and I don't know which is which, and why do they pursue those kind of double? It's like you want to eat from the front, you want to eat from the back, which is I don't get it. Talk to us about that. Is it something new? I've never heard about it before.
Well, if I can guess what you're talking about,
Yeah.
then I can talk. So I would talk about it. But what I actually meant here is, you have a seller, somebody wants to sell
So.
their property, of course.
Mhm,
But while they are waiting for somebody to come buy that property,
mhm.
they are also looking for somebody to rent it
Oh, okay. So short term, it's like a short term rental with the hope of selling it to someone else.
with the hope of selling it to someone else
I
eventually. So
see. I
if
see.
they found a tenant, they would still,
Mm,
sign a lease, and
mhm,
then they might terminate the sale,
mm.
the option to sell,
I
right?
see.
Or they could still continue on, and then whoever is buying will be buying it as an investment property versus buying it as a primary residence at that time,
Mhm,
because when you buy a property with a tenant in it, you're buying that contract as well.
mhm.
I
So,
believe. Yeah, sorry. I was going to say, I believe what you were asking was probably like a rent to own situation, which is something that is also on the market where, you now, the seller, become
mhm,
like the financier of that deal, right? So
yeah.
you hold that mortgage and they
Mhm,
are paying you. And then,
mhm.
after they've exhausted the payments, then they can now you deed the property over to them.
Okay, no, that's a separate question, I think. So the rent to own, how
Mhm,
popular is that in Texas? I've heard about it in Georgia, in
mhm.
other states, but not so much in Texas. Talk to us about that. Is it prevalent here, or is it something that's a relatively small or new practice?
I wouldn't say it's a new practice, and it's not prevalent as well.
Okay.
It exists,
Mhm.
and primarily it's been serving markets where people are either undocumented or
Mhm.
they do not have the credit that is required to be able to make that purchase.
Mhm.
Which is why it's outside of the financial system.
Mhm.
Property owner now, you're the one financing that deal.
I see. I see.
I, for one, I have to say this, it's not something that I recommend
Mhm.
uh, because, it becomes, in some instances, it's been predatory because you making the payment, you really do not have a serious claim to that property.
Yeah.
And there have been cases where, you've paid for so many years, you miss a payment, and then the guy still, he has a deal.
Re- rescinds the deal, and then you're out in the
Out on the
cold
street,
again.
there is
Yeah.
nothing for you to show.
No
It's pretty much
protection.
like rent. It's like
Yeah.
you're renting.
Yeah.
So it's not something that I recommend. If
Hmm.
you want to go down that path, I definitely suggest you get a lawyer involved and make sure that you're protected, and at
Hmm.
least the equity that you've been paying into that property, you're able to get some of it if that
Oh,
deal
okay.
goes out.
Very interesting. Okay. Wow. And each time I think about purchase, think about lenders.
Hmm.
Lenders to me, they're not your friends. They are not in the business of making friendship with you. They're in the business of slashing and burning your pocket as much as they can. They want to grab and grab and grab as much as they can. I've never
Hmm.
met a lender that said I've had enough. Never, ever, ever, anywhere. So,
Yeah.
but it looks like American lenders are particularly gifted at going after your wallet and your purse as aggressively as possible. I'm not saying this in other countries where I've purchased before. So it's a
Hmm.
very unique thing for me, and I'm very skeptical about them. So would you recommend the regular banking lenders, or do you recommend those outside of the banking system, or even private lenders? Because there are mortgage loan companies, there are the private loan companies. Who do you recommend and why?
That's a very great question. I would say, understand one thing: America is, in terms of capitalism, is the greatest capitalist nation on earth.
Yeah, they're not here to joke. They're not playing
No,
games. They're,
no.
they're just here to for their own self-interest.
It's
Yes.
it's
So
absolutely
continue.
self-interest first,
Mm.
and a great majority of that is done through sales. Uh,
Mhm.
the lenders, the lenders are selling a product, right? That's exactly what it is. It's a product. Each loan is a product.
And the product is money.
The product is money, and the money that you're going to be paying them. I digress a little bit, but if you look at your the amortization schedule you get
Mhm.
when you buy a house,
Mhm.
or even if you look at your mortgage statement, your monthly mortgage statement, you realize that a good majority of what you're paying is going towards the interest.
Yes.
Just a very tiny
Sad,
sliver is
sadly, 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 sadly. Yes.
Now we say that is the system, right?
Yeah.
System. That's what the system we're operating within the confines of that system that has been put in place
Yeah.
way before I ever showed up into this country or way before I was
Yeah.
born.
Yeah.
But that's the nature of the game.
Yeah.
Now your question is, which would I recommend?
Yeah.
Um, for the most part, since it's a product, what I tell my customers is go with whomever is protecting your interest the best.
Mhm.
Okay. So take for instance, you are trying to buy a house at a particular point in time, and you've engaged with maybe you're buying a new construction as an example. You've engaged with a builder's lender. They are offering you, 3.99% interest. They're offering you 10,000 towards your closing cost, and then maybe your cash to close ends up being 50,000.
Mhm.
Right. Then you go to the next lender and they are offering, maybe a 4.5%, and
Mhm.
your cash, they're not offering anything towards closing, but your cash to close is probably 25,000. Right. You weigh all of those things, side by side, and you see which one is giving you the best deal.
Mhm.
Keeping in mind that at the point when you're buying, whomever is the mortgage originator, that's not who is going to be processing the loan after. It doesn't take long after closing, and that loan is sold off to the next processor, right? So at that
Yes.
particular point in time, your goal should be to get the best deal possible. So to me, I would not necessarily say, take the first person that gives you a pre-approval and run with them. My recommendation usually is do a comparison and see who offers you the best deal. As far as lenders from banks are concerned, what I usually also say with that is lenders from banks, they are selling their product, and sometimes they are limited because that's all they are selling, right? So if you engage with a third party lender, a mortgage broker, they can look at multiple options and
Mm-hmm.
tell you this person is offering this rate, this that person is offering that rate, and this would be the one that I recommend.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's also good, most of the time for me, I would say it's good to talk to one of these third party lenders,
Mm-hmm.
because most of them are brokers and they can shop from different lending institutions and
Mm-hmm.
find out which one best matches your particular situation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Does that include private lenders or there's just a third party?
So if we talk about private lenders, I'm not sure if you're referring to like hard money lenders, people
Yes.
that would be trying to hard
Yes.
money lenders.
Yeah.
Most of the time, when I've seen people deal with hard money lenders, it's when they are trying to invest.
Okay.
So
Okay.
they are looking at flipping a property, and a traditional lender
Okay.
would
Okay.
not yes, a traditional lender would not be able to offer them the money that they need. So they go to a hard money lender. Hard
Mm-hmm.
money lenders tend to charge almost an arm and a leg in terms of
Yep.
interest rates. But when there is nobody else to offer you the money, and if that one seems like the one that would give you the money, and if the deal seems to be promising, then I don't see why not.
Okay. I get it now. No, not the hard money lenders. They charge an arm and a leg because they have a shorter lifespan expectation to make their quick buck and get out. Whereas the others are looking long term. They're looking at killing you softly. They give you 30 years,
Yes.
give you 40 years as long as you leave, and they're still retaining the title anyway. So if you pay, that's cool. But there's something that I have also found to be quite uh, important in the choosing of where to buy.
Hmm.
Now, I was absolutely new to Texas, and my schedule, my wife's schedule was not did not permit us to do a third visit. We had done two visits trying to choose which city to go to.
Hmm.
Houston, Dallas, Austin. I wanted Austin. My wife wanted Dallas. Now you
Hmm.
know how that goes.
I know. Where are you now?
Sometimes I even say, why do men even care, bother to wish for certain things? Don't just keep your like Chris Lock says, forget about your own wishes. Just sit up straight and get. Anyway, that's an aside. But when it comes to choosing, it's important to know which county. Some counties, like where we are currently, it's a beautiful county, the smallest county in Texas, but also the property taxes are way above every other county. So,
Hmm.
talk to us about what counties you would advise new families from out of state to locate to, because maybe property taxes, because maybe lifestyle, because of what are the factors, what are the best counties to locate to in Texas if somebody is contemplating that decision.
All right. Let me plug in my laptop
Yes,
here, if you don't mind.
please, please.
Yes. Yes.
All good. That's a very important question. We have to make sure that we get the
Yes,
best answer to that question.
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So the question is, in the course of choosing
Mhm.
which county, which part of northern Texas, are there some favorable? Are there some cooler? Are there some nicer areas where potential buyers should go to? Especially with the understanding of property taxes, an understanding of lifestyle, understanding of safety, understanding of a myriad of factors, growth, prospects, and all of that.
Yes, it's that's a very good question, and it's a very tricky question because as a as a realtor,
Yeah.
right, we are prohibited from engaging in what
Oh.
they call steering.
Mm.
So I cannot say, go
Go
to
to
this
that county.
area
Okay.
because of,
I see.
probably because these are the types of people that
Okay.
live there, for
Okay.
this reason or that reason.
I
So
see.
it's a collaborative effort between myself and the prospective buyer
Hmm.
to say, okay, this is what is important to you, right? You want a good school district. You want a place that is close enough to your office, uh, maybe close to grocery, right? In general, not in specific, not like African grocery or Mediterranean. This no. So you have in general terms. With that information, then we work together to be able to find a place that is most ideal, most suitable to you and your family. One thing that I probably needed to start off with was Texas as a whole tends to have a very high property taxes,
Yes.
and that because we as a state do not have state income tax.
Yeah.
We only have the federal income tax. So the property taxes now tend to make up that income
The
from
bulk of.
that would have been coming
Yeah.
from the income tax. So most counties that you look around the state here would have a high property tax. That's just compared to what most other states that you're coming from.
Yeah.
Now, based on you, the individual, if you tell me you want to be in a good school district, for the most part, just know that you are going to have high property taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Your kids have all, perhaps grown, they've left the house, and it's not quite as important to you anymore. Then perhaps, you could be outside of the city limits, or you could go to some place where the school district is not something that really, really matters to you that much. And then the property taxes will not be quite as high, right? So it's what I would really say to that is it's a collaborative effort between between I and the prospect. Once we know what your criteria is, and then we're able to find what would be the most suitable to you. But I totally get your comment about the property taxes. It's a shock to most people.
Yeah.
But I also have to add, just recently, I believe the homestead exemption for was raised, I believe, from 100,000 to 140, if I'm not
Did
mistaken.
it did it pass? Did it pass, or they're still considering it?
From what I understand, it passed. It passed the House, so I don't know
Okay.
if it's passed the
Probably
Senate yet.
still.
So if it does, then that would be a little bit of a reprieve to Texas homeowners.
Yeah. As someone who has lived on the East Coast, West Coast, um, and now in Texas, states, I think either way, they're gonna hammer you. Either way, they're gonna rip off a piece of your flesh. Get that clear. Don't make any mistakes.
Yes.
I still think that sometimes maybe it's better to pay their personal income taxes, because when you look at the property tax bill, you know
Yeah.
that there's someone either very genius or very evil sitting at the back of the counter waiting. I want your money. I want your money. I want all of it. I want all of it. Just, and sometimes you don't, like, do they even when you declare homestead, it still doesn't make a cut. At least not for my county, but that's a separate conversation altogether. So if someone came to you and say, okay, which are some of the counties that allow for use of Airbnb, in case people coming in, they want to buy, maybe it's a second home, they want to put it on Airbnb, which are some of the counties in northern Texas that allow for Airbnb as a business?
Yeah, that's a great question. That those are not regulated at the county level, but rather at a city level. And each city now is going about, its own regulation. It used to be like the Wild West with Airbnbs.
Do what they
Anybody
want.
could set up an Airbnb in the middle of a community, in the middle of a neighborhood. Nobody really, nobody cared until somebody started caring. Um, I would say first is, as the individual, what if you're looking for Airbnb, it's an investment. So it's an income generating property, and you would definitely want to set it up in an area that you would be able to generate income. So if we're looking at North Texas, for example, the DFW Metroplex, which are the areas that have high traffic, which are the areas that have that tend to have events, those are the areas that you'd be able to, get a good return on your investment. So, for instance, we would look at a place like Arlington. Arlington has, the NFL stadium. It has the baseball stadium, Texas
Mhm.
Rain. It
Mhm.
has Six Flags,
Mhm. Mhm.
water park.
Mhm.
That's a place where you can be sure that there is action, and you can be
Mhm.
sure that people are going to come and stay.
But
Now,
and it's also allowed. The city also allows that.
that is exactly what I was going to say. The
Okay.
city allows it within a corridor
Okay.
within the entertainment district.
I see. I see.
Outside of that, it's not allowed because,
Not in the
again,
residential. Mhm.
yes, complaints from neighbors and people throwing up on the streets, partying
Mhm.
late into the night, disturbing disturbing families that want to rest after a long day's work.
Mhm.
That wasn't welcome, right? So they've
Mhm.
restricted it to the entertainment district, and you
Mhm.
have to go through a process to get that property approved
Mhm.
before it can now get onto an Airbnb. Uh, I'll use Plano as an example because I had a recent experience there.
Mhm.
Plano also now, if they started a new policy as of last year, I believe, where if you had an existing Airbnb, it was grandfathered in wherever
Mhm.
it was.
Mhm.
But now, if you want to set up a new one, it's only
Mm.
allowed in areas that are zoned like
Oh.
mixed use or
Mhm.
multi-family development.
I
Right, so
see.
it no longer is it allowed in single detached residential areas.
Mm.
So you now have to, for us, it's to
Mhm.
familiarize ourselves with each city and what the regulations for that particular city is or are, and
Mhm.
being able to provide that guidance to any prospective
Mhm.
client on
Mhm.
how they can, navigate that and be able to buy a property. Again, you don't
Mhm.
want to buy, spend this money, and then you're not getting anything in return.
Yep. Wow. Very interesting.
Mhm.
Okay. Let's start to wrap up here. Would you say that the journey from corporate accounting, logistics, analytics to real estate, and I know from what you're saying very soon, brokerage, has it been a worthwhile journey? If so,
Yeah.
if
I
so,
ask myself the question too some days, but
all right, go ahead. Why would you ask? I mean, you're doing a great job. I see on social media every now and then you're handing over a new key here, like a new key, 3 keys in one day. Key, key, key. Everybody wants a key. You're like literally like. So is it? Tell us. I'm sure. I mean, every line of work there's good days and bad days.
of course,
But
of course.
is it been a good move? Or are you contemplating, man? I'm looking back. Where's my analytics resume? I have to brush it up.
Yeah, I think I've gone too far now to turn back.
Okay, okay.
I have to say I watched a video one time online. I think it was probably Steve Harvey saying this. You choose your heart. Everything, most things that you're going to do in life, you'll face challenges. There's some level of difficulty, but you have to choose. Your
Your heart.
heart. You choose
Mm,
which one you want to engage in.
mm,
And for me, I have chosen my heart.
mhm,
Last year, I drove, I think, 46,000 miles just driving, right? And the year before that, 42.
mhm,
So, not only is it a sacrifice that I'm making, engaging in this line of work,
mhm,
but I'd mentioned this before, the fact that, when I do get back home, and I will digress again. But when I do
mhm.
get back home, I have a sense of fulfillment, right?
There you go.
Last night, I spent, my wife and I, we spent the Valentine's Day with what I would now refer to him like a brother, really.
Mhm,
He
mhm,
was a client at some point in time.
mhm,
He came to me, never knew him before that. And, he got introduced to me by another client of mine,
mhm,
another former client of mine. I was able to help him through the acquisition process
mhm.
he built. And throughout that time, a friendship developed, and he's pretty much like family, right?
There you go.
When we have an event, he comes over. He has an event. He hosted us last night for Valentine's Day.
There you
So that
go.
that tells you, there's a lot of intangible
Yeah,
uh,
benefits.
benefits. Yes, that's the
Mhm,
word. A lot of
mm.
intangible benefits that have come from this. Like I said, if I sell, I get a commission. That money gets spent, right? Probably gets spent against my account. But
By
the
the
real,
wife, but are you saying by the wife? No, okay.
thankfully she's
Let,
sleeping.
let's not go there. Let's not go there. We'll get in trouble. Before it
But
even hits
yeah,
the account, it was already spent. What?
you
Who's
know,
spending digitally?
exactly. But again, the satisfaction, the reward, the
Okay.
reward is not, in the money, but it's in the lives that have been touched. It's in the
Okay.
relationships that have been built.
Yeah.
To the point that I know, if I ever, I'm in faith, there's somebody that I can call, right? If I'm in Anna, if I'm in Roy City, there is somebody
Yes.
I can call.
Yes.
That to me is my
Yeah.
greatest reward. That's my greatest satisfaction.
And there's a chair at the table here
I will be
For Agent
that's
Dan.
to eat some pumpkin again.
You can knock anytime. You can eat some pumpkin. No longer
Yeah.
from Oregon pumpkin, but hopefully from
Yes,
Texas pumpkin.
exactly.
So, how can someone find Agent Dan? Is it online? Is it on Facebook? Is it on TikTok? TikTok has been banned. It's unbanned. Is it on Cameroon Tribune? Is it International Tribune? Is it in
Yeah.
where can we find Agent Dan?
I primarily use three social media sites: Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Which TikTok
It seems
is
like the
flexible.
big three.
The big three, I would
Yeah.
say. And my handle on Instagram and TikTok is Agent Dan TX for Texas. So T as in Tom, X as in X-ray. So Agent Dan TX for Instagram and TikTok. Sorry, and then Facebook is Abamukong, which I
Mhm.
don't even know why, but that's my first name, Abamukong
Okay.
DNZ.
Okay.
And then my website, which is I actually started building my website yesterday, if you can imagine that. Uh,
On Valentine's Day. Okay, that's cool.
Valentine's Day.
That means it's filled with love. It comes with
A
love.
lot of love, a lot of
Yeah.
love, plenty
Okay.
of love. But
Okay.
my website is just
Mhm.
agentdan.realtor. So agentsdan.realtor. That should be launched. My goal is to have it wrapped up this weekend. And
And
by
is
next
that
week,
your brokerage site or is that your agent site? In other words, you as an agent or you as a broker who is having other agents under you.
no, this is my agent site.
Okay. And the
Yes, my
brokerage side is still coming.
brokerage side is still coming. I haven't yet launched the brokerage yet. My
Mhm.
goal is to have it towards the end of the year. That's my plan, to have it launched by the end of this year.
Okay.
But at that point in time, I have a domain name secured already for my
Mhm.
business. It's Grace Realty. So
Evergrace.
that's
Evergrace. Okay.
Evergrace,
Uh,
EVER.
Okay. If you have that started, you need some guys to sharpen pencils around, get you water around. Please do
Oh my God.
think of
Oh
me.
my God.
I'll be honored to,
I'll be
you know,
coming to rob. I'll be coming to rob brains, not.
I'll love to, I mean, you're going great places. So, Agent Dan, what's your superpower
Superpower, my superpower, business or
as a whole?
as a whole,
Yeah.
my superpower is being a great husband and father to my children, three children. That's my superpower.
Okay, I give you a big blast of Vuvuzela for that. Being a great dad and being a great husband. Amazing. Okay.
Thank you.
What is your claim to fame? Yes, you're an agent. You're a secret special agent. What is your claim to fame?
My claim to fame is I am the one others want to be like when it comes to the real estate business.
Oh, the one others want to be when they grow up. Okay, yeah. You're the one I want to be like when I grow up. Spiritually, morally, ethically. Okay. All right. That's a good one. When they grow up. Okay.
When they
In the
grow
real
up.
estate business.
Absolutely.
Amazing. No, that's
Mhm.
amazing. That's amazing. Kudos. Last one. If you walk into a room and there are three chairs, no, four chairs laid out. The first chair is standing within a triangle. And there's nothing special about it. It's just a triangle, chair standing inside a triangle. Then the second chair that's available is standing inside a circle. The third chair is standing within a squiggly, that means kind of twisted. And the fourth chair is standing in a square. So you have a triangle, a circle, uh, squiggly, and a square. Which of these four chairs would you be kind of comfortable to sit on?
Oh my God. Now we are onto the psychology, psychoanalysis.
Yeah, psychometrics. Yeah,
I am at square.
square.
Mm.
Okay. The square folks. Yeah, no wonder you're an accountant. It's very good for CPAs. All right, you're the first that has chosen the square in one of our episodes. They like they're perfectionists. Yeah, no
Mhm.
wonder you're a great husband and a great mentor to younger real estate agents, and they like to do it right.
Mhm.
They like to do it right. So, want to thank you so much for waking up so early. Um, really grateful for what you're doing in the community and what you've done to us. And I know you probably want to go catch another 1 hour of rest or sleep. So I want to thank you again for coming, and I pray that things continue to get better and better because we're waiting for Grace, Ever Grace,
Grace
Ever
Realty.
Grace, um, to get launched and to continue serving more people. Do you have any last word for anyone
No,
who
I'll,
is
I'll be remiss if I do not also express my gratitude to you. I am grateful for this opportunity you've given me. It's not every day that you might not regard the importance of what you've done for me by giving me this opportunity to be on your platform.
absolutely?
But I want to really express my sincere gratitude. I know you've been apologizing, but no, I am the one who is grateful. I'm thankful. Every time I get an opportunity to talk about myself and what I do, if you wake me up in the middle of the night, anytime you wake me up, I'll talk real estate.
There
So
you go.
I appreciate you. I'm very grateful. And my one thing is continue doing what you're doing. You are impacting lives, so do not stop, do not relent, just keep firing on.
Thank you so much. To all of you story warriors out there, please pay attention to this man. Pay attention to where he's going. Pay attention to what he says. This has been another phenomenal episode of the Story Warrior podcast by a guy from the hinterlands of a galaxy far, far, far away, having a great time in the heartlands of America. Thank you. Peace, love, and pumpkins. See you, brother.